Almost all of the great Gothic cathedrals of France are dedicated to Notre Dame, Our Lady. Now, in the centuries prior to the Gothic period, Christian churches were named for a variety of saints. But from the end of the 12th and into the 13th century, the cathedrals were almost without exception named for the Virgin Mary. And one of the practical reasons for her prominence is the fact that the great cavernous cathedrals of the Middle Ages were seen in almost the literal sense like the body of Mary, places of safety and birth. I can testify that standing in the midst of the great Chartres Cathedral or Notre Dame in Paris, one feels this overwhelming sense of security, its peacefulness and serenity of spirit. This dark, all-enveloping space is evocative of the womb of a mother, of the Virgin Mother, in which Christ himself was nurtured, and in which all members of the church, believe it or not, come to birth. It is from that womb that every child baptized begins their journey to God. From the earliest centuries, the church was always referred to as Mother, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, was closely associated with it as the symbol, as its protector, and as its premier member. When the pilgrims came to Chartres Cathedral, they were all hoping to see a most holy relic, and that relic happened to be the tunic of the Virgin. But at a deeper level, they were seeking security. And it was this spiritual rest that they found in the womb of the cathedral and the embrace of the Virgin. Now, there's nothing easy or cheap about the repose offered by Mary, and they knew it. All over the cathedrals are depictions of the Annunciation, Mary's yes. But there are also vivid reminders in the stained glass windows of all that flowed from this yes. The massacre of the innocents, the flight into Egypt, the awful vigil at the foot of the cross. The peace realized and embodied by Mary is not the peace that the world gives, but rather the serenity beyond pleasure and pain that follows from an acceptance of our role in God's designs. The theme of safety and rest is also invoked in the name given to the central section of the cathedral and of our basilica here on Mission Hill. It's called the nave, which seems to be derived from the Latin novus, meaning ship or boat. Medieval people knew, perhaps even more vividly than we do, that human life is a dangerous proposition. We are surrounded on all sides by warfare, disease, failure, economic collapse, loss of friendship, death itself. Our time on earth is like the disciples' anxious journey across the stormy Sea of Galilee. We are so often swamped, convinced that death is near. But in the boat with the disciples was Christ, incongruously asleep. The sleeping Jesus stands, the church fathers tell us, for that place of safety and peace that is available even in the worst storms, that still point of God's grace in the tumult of a human life. As long as we are rooted in the divine power of Christ, nothing can overpower us. There's that beautiful old Quaker hymn that expresses this confidence. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, for love is Lord of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? And so the church, the place where Christ dwells, is our shelter in the storm, our place of peace. Whenever we enter the hull of this gorgeous basilica ship, Our Lady of Perpetual Help, we're meant to feel a rush of relief, a keen sensation of being safe and secure, even as the waves of the world outside crash against us. And countless people have told me this, that this is the first thing that they encounter when they come into our basilica. It draws them in. It's that security that makes them want to stay. In the silence and in the tranquility of our beautiful basilica, they feel safe, they feel secure, they feel calm. The interior space of our basilica, the body of Mission Church, is and will always be a place of safety. But it is also, as I suggested about the great cathedrals of France, it's a womb. It's a place of gestation and birth. The purpose of our church is not merely to keep people who are coming in safe and secure and calm from the dangers of the world, but it's there to bring us to the fullness of life. Saint Irenaeus, the great church father, suggested that Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden were not so much full-fledged adults as adolescents, somewhat unsure of themselves, testing their freedom, and that's the whole history of salvation, which is a long, sometimes torturous process of development and education. God cajoling, drawing his people into the direction of salvation. According to Irenaeus' vision, the church is that place where the growth, the education, the gestation of our lives continues. Our life here below, lived out in the nurturing confines of your parish, our parish, the Mission Church, is really like the development of a fetus in the womb of its mother. Now, to be sure, a womb is always a place of safety and comfort. But it's not the final environment for the child who's growing. In fact, as that baby grows within the mother, the baby becomes increasingly uncomfortable and starts to prepare itself for the moment when it will emerge into the spacious and colorful world for which that child is destined. So we gestate in the womb of the Basilica of Our Mother Perpetual Help in our own parishes, taking in the nourishment of her gorgeous icon in the shrine, the beautiful art that surround this church, and the liturgies, and the growing year by year uncomfortable with the world, readying ourselves for the far richer, broader, and more beautiful world which God is preparing for us. Wombs are secure, but they are not our final home. Ships are safe, but they are always meant to take us somewhere else.